Hi, my name is Everett and I talk too much. I am continually, day after day, fascinated by the way people interact with each other online. Here's some backstory. I'm a rock musician from Florida and I have ran several accounts for both a previous band I was in called Casket Case and my current solo venture, the channel of which you are on right now. And at the moment, I am in the process of promoting my upcoming debut song under this account. So I have some experience with being a creator online on top of being a consumer. I've ran a few other accounts in my time, most of which were short-lived or poorly executed, which I will not be naming because nobody gets to know about those. Yeah, but people are weird online. People are weird in real life, but they're significantly weirder on the internet. That's what I'm here to talk too much about today. Also, yes, I am using my cell phone voice recorder as a microphone right now because the audio quality coming directly out of my camera is pretty bad, and I don't have like a lapel mic or anything, so this is the best I can do right now. I know it's probably still whack, the quality, but not much I can do about that at the moment. Hopefully if I continue doing this series or something like it, I will be able to figure out how to do that better. For now, cell phone with my script on it. First thing that happens when you begin to get the itch to start posting your creations online is you have to work up the courage to do it. Now, as simple as it seems, it takes a lot more courage than you'd think. A lot more than is realistically warranted, actually, but I digress. Then, you figure out how to do it. You learn the skills necessary to create a video, and you create it. And you probably spend far too much time tweaking every little detail, worrying about every little thing, and spending your time crashing out over things nobody else will even notice. And then you're back to the courage stage. Because now you actually have to work up the courage to actually do it. Creating it saying, I'll post this is different than creating it, having it created, being done, and going, okay, I'm about to post it. You've been there, I know. But once you do that, you're off to the races. Except you've got to do it again, and again, and again. And you got to keep doing it. And this is where people usually fall off, because generally speaking, you usually get very little to zero interaction on your early videos. Personally, in my experience, why people fall off is because of the insanely high pressure we tend to put on ourselves to perfectly curate and create and detail every little thing we make to post online. Nobody's ever going to notice these flaws that we're coming up with in our heads, almost making things up to keep going. I need to change this. The background music's not perfect. The lighting's not perfect. Nobody gives a damn. Also, my computer's online. Yay! For some reason, posting something online, especially something a little out of the ordinary, feels like such a big deal when you're first starting out. It feels like you're staring off into the deep end with sharks and thousands of viewers waiting for you to dive in. And then you get 2 likes. We all have a tendency to expect perfect, polished outcomes from our own projects in a way that none of us really expect out of others. Well, at least that most of us don't. Despite the typical unwarranted importance most of us place on individual posts, most people seem to have the exact opposite idea of commenting on other people's posts. In my mind, this is kind of backwards, but I digress. People seem to think commenting hardly matters and they can say anything they want without repercussions. And a lot of them seem to choose to use that perceived ability whenever they have the opportunity. If you've already begun posting as a creator, you've probably shared in my experience of getting a significant portion of commenters who seem to want to be rude, mean, or discouraging for purely the sake of it. Of course, in more controversial niches, you would expect this, but it doesn't seem to matter what you post. Somebody will always be there, ready to try and shoot down any confidence you have in what you're doing. Now, you'd of course imagine that these commenters are people who generally dislike what you're doing. Let's say you're posting something like I do, original music of some sort. You'd think any hate comments you get would be primarily people who dislike the style of music you're making, right? If you're posting a metal song, you'd imagine the majority of negative comments would be from people who aren't interested in metal as a genre. But oddly enough, it seems to usually be the opposite. When the commenters have enough information on their accounts that you can get any guess on who they are, or they leave their merits, they're usually people who are generally fans of the kind of content you're creating. I think, personally, that this sort of thing comes from one of 2 places. 1. Gatekeeping. Some people just don't like when other people try to do or be a part of their thing. Have you ever had someone come up to you and, try bizarrely hard to prove that you're not actually a fan of something? Start quizzing you out of the blue because you decided to wear a band shirt? Or just outright call you a poser? Or LARPer, is the kids say. That's a new one. Option 2, jealousy. A lot of these people, in my opinion, are on some level irritated by the fact that you're doing something and they're not. Another pattern you may recognize is that you will rarely ever get comments from people who post similar content or really any content regularly, and you'll basically never get one from someone who has any sort of success in your niche. Or, again, in any. I firmly believe people will try to shoot down anyone they think might somehow rise above them in some way because it threatens them. You ever heard of the crabs in a bucket mentality? I think that's what it is, you know. A bunch of crabs in a bucket when the other crabs try to climb out, the crabs towards the bottom grab the top crabs and drag them back into the bucket. Yeah, that. I think certain people's desire to keep others down and to hinder or belittle their ambitions comes from this sort of a mindset. Or at least that's my opinion. Third option, it's just insecurity or projection. Both of the previous ones are kind of just different versions of this, but regardless of why they do it, it's still irritating and discouraging, especially to people who are really new to it. Nobody thinks it's fun to get some dude with a fedora commenting on 5 different videos of yours saying how much you suck, you know? So, what should you do about it? You shouldn't take it seriously at all. I know, easier said than done, but hear me out. Most creative people take their art very seriously. That's a good thing. But when it extends to how you promote your art, I think it can quickly become a problem. Because in most cases, social media is not very serious. And trying to be too serious will, more often than not, leave you with either low output because you're burning yourself out by trying too hard for what most people won't even watch all the way through, or you get too protective over every post you make, which leaves you more vulnerable to being upset by those aforementioned internet commenters. So take it less seriously. If you don't have a good post, just post something dumb. A bad post has a better chance of doing well than no post at all, you know? And you probably won't be as upset by a mean comment on something you spent 30 seconds on than on something you spent 30 minutes on. Also, in my experience, it's always the posts you think are gonna flop that do weirdly well. It's always the ones you spend 8 seconds of your life on that are the ones that people are like, this is great. Take rude comments less seriously. Let me tell it to you straight here. If someone spends their time commenting mean things on other people's posts on the internet, posts that are harmless and not even controversial, their opinion is probably not worth your regard. Part of growing your own confidence and growing a thicker skin is learning to discern what opinions you should actually give a damn about. Think of it this way, if you wouldn't message this person yourself to ask them for advice, why are you taking criticism from them? If you try to please everybody at once, you will end up pleasing nobody. So you gotta be happy with what you're doing first, then start worrying about if people that you actually respect are happy with what you're doing, or impressed by it, or like it. And anybody else, does it really matter? Because your audience will find you. And if they're not a part of it from the get-go, changing yourself to fit their usually stupid criticisms is not going to actually make them like what you're doing. They just want to hate on you. Sadly, that's the way it is. It's never genuine. They're never actually trying to help. They just want to be an asshole. You could do everything they say and they'd still find something to hate on. So don't convince yourself that you're gonna rope them in if you do what they say. You're not. Yeah, so that's my big advice. Take social media less seriously. Take criticism, but only from people who aren't just trying to be mean and also are in a place you would like to be. The advice of someone with 7 followers and 1 post from 3 years ago probably isn't going to be very valuable. And I know I'm saying that while sitting here with 28 followers, but, you get my point. And on that note, if you've watched through this whole thing, I would be really happy if you just like the video, maybe, and subscribe if you want to see more like it. Also, I would love to see if you have any comments, input, or stories on this matter. Please comment them below. I would love to read them, and I will. I promise I will respond to all of them. Also, my first song on this project is releasing in a few weeks. It's called Hey Moon, and I'm going to be making a music video for it as well. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe stick around. Anyways, I'm going to end this video off here because I've been talking too much. Bye!